Hello, everyone. Welcome to Horrifica. And this I'm very excited to do is the first of a three-part series I will be doing on the Fear Street movies that are going to be coming out on Netflix. The first one just came out yesterday, and it was called Fear Street 1994. Now, as I said, this is the first part of a series of three movies. They're all set to premiere on Netflix this month, weekly it seems, and this first movie does not disappoint. It's definitely got this Goosebumps meets Scream meets Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it. It's got societal undertones about wealthy and poor families. It's got gays. It's got a little bit of everything. I can't complain. Now, this movie was really fun and thrilling to watch, and they didn't shy away from the gore, which is awesome. I loved the stylized lighting and the soundtrack was so early 90s. It was great. The opening scene from the trailer that you see, there's like this little snippet trailer that I watched before I watched the movie. It's really good. It gives you a really good taste for what actually happens at the beginning of the film. So you really need to see the movie for yourself. And before I hit any spoiler territory, please pause this video and just go click on your Netflix account. Everyone has Netflix nowadays, or you're using your mom's Netflix. I'm not judging you. I use my mom's Netflix. And go give this movie a watch and then unpause this video and listen to my review. Alright, on to my thoughts. We have been craving a good slasher movie. Let's be honest, people. With Friday the 13th in legal limbo and us still waiting on the next Halloween installment, it's been pretty bare bones in the lines of good slasher content. So, not horror content in general, but good slasher content. This movie definitely cures that. Now, it has a really solid open that is extremely well executed, and it's a very good nod to the iconic opening for Scream. Even down to how the killer chases the girl and stabs her, and how she reaches for the killer's mask and reveals their face. But, unlike in Screamer, we as the audience don't see the face of the killer, we actually do see the face of the killer. And don't worry, this is actually intentional, and there's a reason for this to happen, and it will come up in a bit. Well, I mean, obviously, because the killer gets shot by this really sus sheriff. So he's technically donezo. And we're like, wait a second, isn't that supposed to be our killer for the movie? I'm really confused. No, people. It's more deep than that. Now, as I said, we also meet this really sus sheriff at the very beginning. He's the one who pops the baddie for us. I stay sus of him for like the whole movie and possibly for a good reason, but I'm not sure yet. Roll on forward, we get introduced to our actual main character the next morning. Her name's Dina, and she's about to be in for the ride of her life. She has a horror and serial killer obsessed brother. His name's Josh. Like, dude, him and I are on the same wavelength. It's pretty cool. They go to school, and the news is going around about how the girl who got murdered at the mall the night before, their classmate Heather, is being mourned. I actually really like this scene. It's like a classic, like like those high school drama, like Mean Girls, where movie where you're walking through the hallway. Well, you don't hear their thought process in this, but you see how they're feeling through what they look at and how what they're thinking and the kind of the feel of the music. Like I said, the soundtrack for this is very awesome. They picked some of the best 90s music. So they're walking down the hall, and the brother and her both are lamenting about their lack of love in their lives. Now, him about being in love with Dina's friend Kate, and her about being a gay in a small town in the 90s. Like, shit's gotta be hard. As a fellow gay who came from a small town, I can totally relate to that. Now, let's skip ahead just a little bit. Like, I'm just gonna go through this part quick. We meet main girl's friends, Kate and Simon. I love Simon. He's so weird and funny. He is our comic relief, and it's much needed, and it's pretty great. I'd say the whole cast actually does a really great job in this movie. I really loved the acting. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel rushed. It felt really genuine, and probably because the script was actually really good, which I'm not surprised about considering the people who were actually involved with the making of the movie. Now, that night they had to a vigil for Heather, the girl who passed away, and it's in the nice town next door to them. So before I keep going, let me talk to you about how much I love how they set up the backstory and the lore for this universe. We have two towns, Sunnyvale and Shadyside. And you guessed it, our movie takes place in the shady side. They have, there have been a string of unexplained killings that have been happening in or around the town, dating basically back to its founding. And we learn that much from Josh, the horror nerd, later on in the movie. So basically, Sunny Vale and Shady Side are kind of like um, your good side of town and your bad side of town. And the opening credits for the movie do a great job of showing this and the vibe and the mood they're going for with the two towns and the contrast between them. So Sunnyvale has the nice, posh, preppy kind of rich kids and the wealthier people, and Shady Side is where you get the more unfortunate people. So, for example, Dina's father, who we actually never meet the entire film, which I find kind of weird. Like, there's literally no adults around, guys. It's just kids and stuff, which is kind of crazy. But so you find out that her father, he is not the most well off. He works a lot. He drinks a lot. It's a lot of like the signs of a very not so well off family. It's very strongly hinted at that. And there's parts of the movie where they bring that up, that Dina doesn't want to end up like her father and stuff like that, and how that's a whole conflict between her and Sam. We'll get to that later though. So they're going to this visual, and at the visual, a fight erupts between the two schools' football teams, and it's basically over the fact that Sunnyvale's not surprised that Shady Side has all these issues because they suck, basically. So punching starts. And amongst the fight, during this fight, and I like how they cut between these two things happening at the same time and how the motions between them kind of contrast each other. It's very good. We actually get the true angst of the film or of the story. Sam, a pretty cheerleader of Sunnyvale, and our main girl have a history, a very gay history. And boy, is there some drama there. I've been hoping for more gay in horror movies, and this movie finally gives us a badass, openly gay teenage girl as our lead girl. Loving it. I'm here for it. Anyway, Sam used to live in Shadyside until her parents got divorced and she moved with her mom to, you guessed it, Sunnyvale. Dina and her were secretly dating, and Dina ended it because she thought Sam had betrayed her by leaving her and going to the posh, rich people side of town. I mean, there's other reasons why things like this were happening. They were having issues. Also, because Sam was too afraid to tell anyone about their relationship, because it's a small town in the mid 90s, guys. You think they're going to react very well to this kind of stuff? It's still not as prevalent as it is nowadays. Like, thinking back even then, I was born in the 90s, and it's kind of crazy to think that even back then, it still wasn't as normalized. And that was only a few decades ago. So it's very interesting to think about. Backing ourselves back into the movie, lots of stuff goes down between the two schools, and they end up having this great cut to where the Shady Side people are back in their bus, and they're talking about how they want to go after the Sunnyvale people for what they did, how they want to just kill them and stuff like that. And we end up getting a lot of things happening on the bus. Some of the Sunnyvale kids decide to chase after them in a car and throw things at the bus. I don't know. They're weird. Kids are weird, right? One of the kids who happens to be in the Sunnyvale's car is Sam, which is interesting. And that kind of triggers our main character. And so lots of stuff goes down during that time, but we end up with a car crash, a bloody nose, and a vision of a witch. Sort of all in that order, I guess you could say. And a witch who does not like her bones disturbed, may I add. Now we're treading into It Follows mixed with Poltergeist, as we find out that the dead killers of the past from the town are after our main characters. They try to run away, they try to go to the cops, but no one believes them, even though other people end up dead. No one believes them. When they say the guy who just got shot the other day in the head is still alive and stabbing. Because we get this whole hospital chase scene with the skull face guy, and they think it's someone else at the time, but they find out it possibly cannot be. It's impossible for it to be that person because that person gets killed right in front of the main character. So we don't know who it is until we get an unmasking and we see that it's literally a guy with the bullet wound in his head. And of course, when Dina and Sam tell Sus Cop Guy, yes, it's Sus Cop Guy, when they tell Sus Cop Guy about this, he's like, nah, I just shot that guy this morning. I don't know what you're talking about. So they're on their own. Makes sense, right? We don't have any adults involved in our horror movies. That's stupid. So now they are trying to figure out what's going to happen next, and soon they learn that the killers only want one person. They want Sam, because they go after the witch's bones to try to bury her and satiate her from coming after them. Maybe she's upset because they disturbed her grave. And while they're there, they find out that it seems like the only person that the killers are focused on is Sam. And it's because she was the one who put her blood on the witch's bones. And the witch don't like that shit, okay? She doesn't like it. And can I just say that I really like the killers, by the way? I know I'm sidetracking again, but they're very interesting and diverse in their looks. And they seem to be inspired after killers from other movies, which I really like. It's a very nice nod to those movies. First, we have Skullface. He is a skeleton-faced teen. Reminds you of anything? Might be kind of familiar. I don't know, probably my favorite movie ever, and it's Killers. Scream. He's actually a play on Ghostface, down to the knife that he wields. And obviously, from that opening scene that's so reminiscent of the opening of Scream, it's a definite nod to that movie. Then we have this girl who sings old time songs and slashes people with a razor blade. She killed herself after killing her friends and her boyfriend, but I'm honestly not sure who she's based off of. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments because I can't not figure it out. And then lastly, we have the Axeman, who killed a bunch of summer camp kids. He wears a bag over his head, and he's obviously a play on Jason Voorhees, specifically from the second Friday movie before he gets his mask. It's even down to the classic summer camp setting, so it's definitely a good nod to him. Now that I've explained the villains a little bit more, let's go back to the plan that these guys have hatched. They need to get rid of these baddies to save Sam's life, and that's easier said than done. Because we learned before that bullets don't do anything. They try to dispatch the killers in a very It Follows kind of way, because in the It Follows movie we learn that there doesn't really seem to be a way to get rid of the thing that follows you, and even when they do try to dispose of it in different ways, it doesn't work. So I don't know why in It Follows they thought that that would be the way to kill it. And they do something very similar in this movie. They try to kill them with an elaborate trap, an explosion, even though they know for a fact that bullets don't work. And if you shoot something in the head and it doesn't stay down, then even if you can try a double tap, but if that doesn't work, then I don't know what to tell you. And besides, we still have 40 minutes left in the film, so it's not over yet, guys. Come on. Surprise, surprise, the killers do come back, and they come back in the most messed up way, I may add. I really thought that was kind of an interesting way to bring them back. The chase begins once again. And just when they think all is lost, and Sam is about to sacrifice herself to save the group, we get a revelation that maybe she can be saved. So they find an article within the collection of articles that Nerd Killer Boy has, and it says that a woman actually survived when she was a girl one of the killings. And it said in quotes, saw a witch. So that's interesting. Let's keep that on our back burner. And I want to add that also at this moment, we're like almost, I'd say we were about an hour in. None of the main cast has actually been hacked or slashed in a fatal way. And I was worried that this movie was actually going to go the route of not killing a single main character. Thankfully, and also sadly, I was wrong. So they come up with another plan. One where Sam dies and comes back because they learn that the girl who survived the killing from the summer camp died and came back to life, and then nothing happened to her after that. That's how she survived. So that's their plan. And I want to add that we also get a short scene with Cop Guy being sus again. He seems to know what's actually happening because he slips a note in someone's door saying it's happening again. And I have a feeling I know who he gave that note to, but I'll get to that later. Back to our plan. Of course, it's not going to go their way. We do end up losing two characters, and I shouldn't have complained because they were. I shouldn't have complained about no one dying because those were my favorite characters. Of course, my favorite characters die. They were destined to die if the logic and formula of horror movies tells us anything. I was sad to see them go. Simon and Kate were very interesting characters, but I do enjoy how unexpected their deaths actually were. I was really under the impression that they would live to be in the next film, at least the next one. That this would be the group of people who would be following throughout the films. But oh man, was I wrong. And I appreciate this movie for not being afraid of killing off some main characters. At the very end of the movie, we think that Sam, Dina, and her brother Josh are safe. But guys, this is a horror movie with 5 minutes till the credits and two more movies coming out after it. From the logic of Randy Meeks, never assume anything. The woman who survived the previous killing, the summer camp killing from 78, uh, they had tried to contact her for help earlier in the movie and they had left a message. Well, that message was received. She calls Dina at the very end of the movie to warn her, and it's a serious warning because at the end of this film, as Hey by the Pixies was playing in the background, we get the lead into the next film with a possessed Sam and a bewildered Dina and Josh. And I want to leave it there for the next film. I like how this film ended. It was very interesting. I kind of wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be like, okay, hey, this one is over. Maybe we're going to get another one the next movie, like it's another generation or something. No, 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 no. No, the next movie is going to be about Dina trying to figure out how to save Sam. So, end notes here, like those little cliff notes at the end of a page. A few things I would like to add. First of all, I think the person who sus cop slipped the note to was the woman who had survived the previous killings. I think we're going to find out that cop guy knows what's really up. But if that's true, then why didn't he believe the kids when they were originally came running to him for help and told him what they saw? That's something that confuses me. Another thing I want to figure out is the significance of the nosebleed. Our main girl got a nosebleed right before the accident that caused Sam to get a nosebleed and touch the bones of the witch with her own blood. Was the nosebleed just foreshadowing? And how can we see Dina get another nosebleed again? Is there some sort of significance between the nosebleed? I'm interested to know. Could possibly the nosebleed have anything to do with how people in the town seem to be going crazy? Because this is something that's established at the beginning of the film. When we get the very beginning opening scene, the guy who ended up killing all the people in the mall, he seemed fine, just fine, moments before everything went to heck. Because our girl at the beginning of the movie who died, she was closing up her shop, waiting for him to finish closing up his own because he offered to give her a ride home. And we see that the killer is this guy who seemed totally normal just a few minutes before he snapped. And I'm wondering if a nosebleed has any significance to that. Because in the scene where we get Dina trying to throw something out the back of the bus to mess with the people in the car, she's really mad at Sam for being there. Could she be feeling a rage that builds up enough to make her snap? But before she can snap, her friend points out that she has a nosebleed, and then the accident happens because of something that falls out of the bus. So I'm wondering if that nosebleed has any significance to what happens with the witch, because we see that Sam gets a nosebleed a few more times in the movie, and they all coincide with her seeing visions. So I'm wondering if that is a sign of someone feeling so much rage that they just get taken over. Tell me what you think in the comments about that, because I'm very interested. There has to be a significance behind it because it's shown so many times in the movie at important intervals. I know the second film is coming out soon, but before it does, please theorize with me in the comments, guys. What are you thinking? Did you like the film? Was it a good, fresh horror film? Are you excited for the next one? Also, if you like this video and you want me to do another one for the next one, please let me know by giving this video a like. And if you aren't already, please subscribe. I hope you're all having a great summer, and I will see you in the next one. Until then.